Hey, and welcome to a new video. Rather than talking about game mechanics or something, this is for players that are maybe thinking about playing Undecember, that if you've heard bad things, you've heard good things, and you're not sure if you want to play it or not. I'm going to talk about the good stuff. I'm going to talk about the bad stuff. Overall, we're just going to talk about why I think Undecember is a really good ARPG and you should give it a shot. Obviously, not everyone is going to like it. If you're coming from someone who has spent thousands of hours in Diablo 3 or Diablo 4 or whatever ARPG, Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, whatever it is, obviously you're going to have your own biases and people are going to have different opinions about these topics than I am. But I do want to talk about this. This is a game that I very much enjoy, and I know that it can be a very good game. Some people are not going to like certain mechanics. Some people are not going to like that you can spend money on the game. But I'm going to talk about all that in this video. So let's get into this thing. I'm not sure what we're going to start with, but let's get into it. Okay, let's start with the elephant in the room. Pay to win. Now, pay to win means different things to different people, and that's why I'm going to start with it, and I'm going to talk about my feelings towards pay to win and what I consider to be pay to win, and we'll branch out from there. So for me, a game that is pay to win means that there is some sort of paywall that you cannot surpass with any amount of gameplay or skill. This game does not have anything like that. You are absolutely able to acquire every single item in the game through hard work and playing. Obviously, some people aren't going to want to do that. Some people are going to want to spend money on the game. So in regards to whether you can dump a ton of money into the game and get very strong, yes, absolutely you can. I don't quite understand why people think that that is a bad thing. There is no competitive boards or anything to worry about on this game. Yes, there is a damage chart. Yes, you can go try to be the best on it. But it's not something that directly affects the game. You can just play the game and have fun, whether you're spending money or not. The thing you are likely going to spend money on, and will probably have to spend money on, is storage. And I will talk about that. Yes, you will likely have to spend storage. It is a company. They need to make money somehow, and storage is a good way to do it. People think that the storage is too expensive. You are correct. It is. There are really only 3 storages that I feel you absolutely need. The essence storage, the card storage, and the material storage. There are 5 other ones that are in varying degrees of usefulness. Charm storage and content material storage are both nice to get. As for Zodiac Stone, Rune, and Jewel storage, they're basically unimportant. You can absolutely play the game to your fullest extent without those. They are fairly expensive. They are. And if you're going to argue that you don't want to play the game because of that, that's fine. There's tons of other games. Go have fun. Yes, they are expensive. They do occasionally do storage sales, generally at the beginning of every season. People say that's not enough stash sales. They are right. It is. You are absolutely correct. It is. In regards to being able to just max out a character with money, yeah, you probably could if you spent tens of thousands of dollars, but it's not going to gain you anything. You're just going to get to the end game, beat everything, and get bored. Well, except for a couple of things that I will talk about in another section. I don't put this game, like a lot of people that play this game come from Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a massive ARPG, obviously, and they make comparisons between the two. They are very different games, and I am going to talk about that later. But if you're playing this game as though it is Path of Exile, and you're doing like I play effectively solo self-found. I don't spend money on the game. I do spend money on the game when my viewers donate money, but I don't have the money to spend ever on this game. I would love to support this game more, but I have no money to do so. So when it comes to pay to win, I don't. I have almost every single item I have acquired solo self-found. The very few that I have either purchased on the auction house or got through rubies were from my viewers. I have a few pieces of gear on that were donated by a viewer that sold it to me for the lowest price possible, like the Transcendent Thunderbolt shoulders that I'm currently wearing. So when it comes right down to it, if you are someone who absolutely cannot deal with the fact that people can spend money and get a leg up on you, even though effectively it's a single player game and you can just have fun and completely ignore everyone else, which is kind of what I do, then yeah, it's not going to be for you. There is a guy going around complaining that Seasons is pointless in this because you can buy the act skip tickets to skip the story and get straight into the end game stuff, and that makes Season pointless. I don't understand the difference. There is no like ranking for Season. I mean, there kind of is, but nobody pays attention to it anyway. So I don't quite understand the hate for that. Skip tickets are great for those that don't want to go through the story for a 50th time. If you're me and you just play the game, who cares? So yeah, when it comes right down to it, you can absolutely spend money on this game. The required amount of money is like, I don't think I can actually check what because I've already purchased them. Convenience, I don't think I can actually purchase them. I can't see them even to see how much they cost for the different storages. But they're fairly expensive, yes. Can you get away in this game without storages for an extended period of time? Absolutely, yes, you can. Use mule characters. Someone who has all the storage, still use mules to keep things organized. If you don't want to do that, if you are absolutely adamant that you hate having to mule and that you want the storage, but it's too expensive, then yeah, the game's not for you. Sorry. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sugarcoat things about you needing storage. But again, this is a company that needs to make money to survive. They have to get money somewhere. Yes, I think they are too expensive. Yes, I think they should run more stash tab sales. Outside of that, the pay-to-win aspect of this game is there. Yes, if you want to spend tons of money, you can. But again, it is effectively a single-player game. I know I'm rambling in circles here. But anyways, that is my feelings on monetization in regards to being able to buy gear, being able to progress faster in the game. So yeah, it exists. If that absolutely destroys you and you can't enjoy a game on your own, then don't play this game. Okay, anyways, we're moving on to, let's say game mechanics. Okay, let's talk about some of the good and the bad stuff, the pros and the cons. So for me, there is a lot about this game I enjoy, and I'm trying to get a list here of the things that make this game stand out to me as opposed to other ARPGs. Now, some of this is opinion-based, and I want people to understand what opinions are, because you can have an opinion and say, I say this about this game, and other person says this about this game, and you're both right, because it is opinion-based. I'm not trying to make this video to get people to argue in the comments about which games are better. This is a video for people thinking if they want to play this game or not, and hearing some of the good and the bad is going to help them make that decision. So one of the things right from the beginning of the game that I liked is the fact that you can set your potions to go off at either certain conditions or certain times. And that, for me, especially early on, was really great, so I don't have to worry about hitting potions. So you can set healing potions to go off at a certain percentage of hit points. Your enhanced potions, you can set them to go off at a certain time, so when your thing runs off and it starts right back up, you don't have to worry about hitting it. That was one of the things I disliked about Path of Exile, was constantly having to smash my buttons for potions and stuff, and that really bugged me. So this doesn't have that. Now you can do them all manually activation. You don't have to have them auto activate, but that is something for me that was a big thing that I really enjoyed right out of the game. Right out of the gate, sorry. One of the other things this game has that I really, really enjoy is your pet automatically picks up all loot. As long as it is not on your loot filter, which is built into the game, you can set it up yourself, it will pick it up. And because you have, instead of a tiny little backpack, you have a 300 slot backpack. Every item takes up 1 slot. You can, if you set your filters properly, go for maps and maps and maps without having to stop and pick up anything, and still picking up all the stuff you want. It makes the game feel more fluid. I know with other games, Path of Exile, Diablo, all the other games where you're constantly looking through stuff on the ground, and even if you've got a good loot filter set up, you're still having to stop and pick things up, and it breaks the momentum of the game, for me. Some people really want that manual control, and I think maybe you could turn pet pickup off if you really want that manual control, but for me, having to not stop and pick up everything, especially when it's inconsequential stuff like gold or like materials for upgrades, is something that I really, I feel like is a really good thing. The fact that you have the large inventory is great. Some people complain that their inventory is constantly full, and if you aren't good at managing that stuff, yeah, you're probably going to have that problem. So that's sort of a pro and a con. Because of the amount of stuff you pick up, if you don't know what is worth keeping, if you don't know what is worth dismantling or selling or dropping, yeah, the inventory can be an issue. But that's going to be an issue in any ARPG you ever play. Inventory is always going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. Ease of swapping builds is something that I really like about this game. Undecember is a classless system, okay, which means that you just have a character. You don't pick an archer or a wizard or whatever, you just put that gear on them and you go and you have a great time. I don't like getting locked into a character, so if you start a season on Diablo 3 and you pick Witch Doctor and you get most of the way and you hate the character, you have to start a whole new character to get thing. Now, in some cases, it's really, really easy to get a character maxed out. But in other games, it's more of a pain. This, if you played, like right now, I'm using a quick slash build. And if I hate this build when I get done the story and I want to switch to something else, I take these runes off, I use the alchemy table to switch them onto new runes, I change my gear, and off I go, and I'm a new character. I don't have to spend all that time going back through the story or getting any of the items that lock to a character, like unlocking your slots on your rune board or getting orbs or whatnot. To me, that's a big thing. I really enjoy that I can switch a character mid-flow if I really, really hate a build, and it's not as complicated as changing your stuff in other games, or the complete inability to change things in other games. Now, I personally really like the rune board. I've seen people absolutely hate this because they can't figure it out how it works and they don't like it, and that's totally okay. Some people don't like this kind of system. Some people don't like the Diablo 3 and 4 systems or whatever. In my opinion, I really enjoy the rune board. I have a lot of fun trying to find ways to squeeze a little more stuff out of the space and make optimal use of it. Some people aren't going to like that, though. It plays way better on a controller than it does on mouse and keyboard. Now, if you are used to mouse and keyboard, you can absolutely just play on mouse and keyboard and turn off auto attack and just play as normal, and I'm sure the game will feel exactly the same as any other ARPG. I know I played for quite a while before switching to controller, as I've played ARPGs since the beginning of ARPGs, and I've always played mouse and keyboard, and I thought there's no way controller's going to be as good. But once you learn the basics of how to use the auto attack and do stutter stepping so that you can fire quickly. It makes the game feel more fluid. It gives you more control over the character because you're not doing, like, let's say you're kiting an enemy. You're not doing the click on the enemy to attack, click over here to move. Click on the enemy to attack, click over here to move. Click on the enemy to attack, click over here to move. Now, some people are used to it, and if you like it that way, great, that's fine, absolutely. But in my opinion, this game plays so much better on controller when you get used to it. Other than doing your inventory management or anything in town where you're clicking on things, the controller is a way better system in this game. If you hate using a controller, the game works absolutely fine and completely normal as an ARPG with mouse and keyboard. But I strongly recommend getting a controller and playing controller. It is so much nicer. It has some insanely difficult content. Whether you're looking at the Void Rift, which is going to it takes a lot of people a lot of time to get through all 30 levels of the Void Rift, getting to the 40th floor of the Spire of Barrier, or doing the ultimate hard content in this game, the solo descent raid. It has some very, very, very difficult content. If you don't want to do the difficult content, like playing on hard mode or whatever, you don't have to. You can still enjoy this game playing on the lower stuff and not worrying about that other content, because in most cases, especially like solo descent raid, there is nothing great for finishing it. And there's a reason that they don't add big rewards for finishing solo descent raid, because they want it to be an optional thing. If you put some kind of gear and locked it behind a very, very difficult piece of content, very few people would get it, and only the upper echelons would ever get it, and then they would be able to dictate the prices of those things. So it's really just for personal pride, being able to beat solo descent. It is very, very hard. Even the Void Rift at the later levels, so the early levels you actually get some worthwhile stuff, but at the later levels you're just getting some gemstones of merit, and again, it's mostly just for pride. There is hard content in hard mode and some of the new maps and bosses that do drop things that are very difficult, that it's worth doing the hard content. But for what it's worth, there is hard content, there is easy content, and whether you're a casual player or someone who's going to get real sweaty about it, the game, in my opinion, has something for everybody. And people like Boog, who you guys don't know at all, she didn't start playing video games until a few years ago, and she enjoys this game, even though she is much, much more casual about it than I am, and I spend many hours a day pushing very hard on it. The crafting and enchanting system in this game, I feel like it is fairly easy to learn. Yes, there's a lot of stuff, and with any kind of deep crafting system, you are going to have some learning issues. But the system doesn't have anything overly complicated. Yes, there are definitely a lot of things that you just kind of have to know. Certain pieces of gear can get certain modifiers that the modifier itself is going to be worthless to you, but when you craft it into something else, it'll become something very strong for you, which can be very complicated, especially when you're starting out. And it's because of the way the game is, it does make some of that hard, but it is something that I feel like you can learn early. I know I had a much easier time learning the crafting in this game than I did in Path of Exile, because you don't need to do 20 different kinds of content to get things to make your gear. You can just play the game as per normal, and eventually the content or the materials you're looking for will get you there. You don't have to worry about doing different kinds of content. I'm not trying to put Path of Exile's crafting system down. It is very deep. It is very complicated, and people really like it. And this game is also very complicated, deep at the end game, but I feel like it is much easier to learn up front. Obviously, it's opinion-based. I'm not trying to start fights, but that's my feelings on the gear customization in this. One of the things they added recently I can't show because I'm on a different character, is set bonuses. And instead of doing it how most games have done set bonuses, where it's a certain piece of gear. So like you get this ring and this sword and they make a set and you get a 2-piece bonus. And then there's 4-piece and 8-piece or whatever set bonuses. But this one, it is the gear. Any piece of gear can be given a random chance to get a set bonus. And you can get the set bonuses on your set of gear. You don't have to worry about using a certain shield or sword or whatever, which I personally like. I really like set bonuses and working towards them, but having to use a substandard weapon or piece of gear because it's part of a set and I really want that set bonus has always been annoying to me, so I really like the way they've done this. The seasonal content in this is probably less deep than a lot of the other ones. For what it's worth, the seasons don't feel particularly important. The thing I do like is that season and standard get the same content. When a patch is released, it goes between everything. It gets hardcore mode, standard, and seasonal. All get the same content. They get the same updates, they get the same events, they get everything else. So if you are someone who wants to push really, really hard on a character on standard and keep working on it for season after season, you can do that and still not miss out on anything. I know with Path of Exile, the content is only released on season, and then at the end of the season, sometimes that gets transferred over, maybe in a lesser capacity, maybe it gets dropped altogether. But if you don't play the season, you don't get the content. If you are a much more casual player and don't want to have to start a new character every season, you can play on standard the entire time. I have a lot of friends that don't play season. Yes, there is reasons to play season. You can get, whatchamacallit, oh my god, my brain. You can get cosmetics that are worth it if you like cosmetic stuffs, different foot effects. Currently, this season's cosmetic is hideous. So I'm not even worried about season this season. I'm just playing my standard and having fun. Because this game, in the end, is a much longer-term grind than other seasonal-based games, where you're intended to only really play for this long and then move on. This, because of things being intended to be a much, much longer grind, things like getting your orbs maxed out, getting your compendiums maxed out, so collecting all the uniques, collecting all the runes, getting them all to max level and stuff, are much, much, much longer grind things. If you don't want to do that stuff, you don't really have to, but if you are someone who wants to stay on the same character and work for an extended period of time, you can do that. Or you can start a new character every season and play up to thing and compete with the other people that play season. In my opinion, I've done both. I've gone really nuts on season last season, and on like season 2, I went really nuts on season. But the rest of the time, I just play my standard characters, and I still have as much fun as starting a new character. It does give you the options of playing different builds and stuff, finding out what you like, without the risk of, of like, oh, I wasted that whole season, because you can just go back to your standard and play. What else did I have? The one thing that I really, really like about this game is the mobile aspect of it. This game plays the same game on here, on my PC, as it does on my phone. It plays virtually the same on a decent phone. Yes, there's a little bit of frame rate stuff. Obviously, it's a much less powerful system. But playing PC and playing mobile, so I know for me, I play during stream, and then I go upstairs and I take a break because I don't want to, sit, and I get something to eat, and I play while I watch YouTube or whatever. The fact that I can just get a controller mount and slap this on and it plays exactly the same, or if you play touchscreen is also okay. That's really nice having that mobile version there, even if you don't really use it. Now, I know a lot of people that come to my stream just play mobile. I know there's people that just play PC, but for someone like me, it's really nice to have both. if I have to go to the doctor's and I got to sit there for half an hour, I knock out a whole bunch of maps. It's really nice having that mobile version. With that said, in the same regard, people talk about the graphics on this are not as good as other ARPGs, comparing to like the new Path of Exile 2 that's coming out, how the graphics look amazing, but it is a PC-only game. It is not meant to be played on mobile. I like, personally, I don't even notice the graphics in an ARPG after about the first 100 hours. I don't know about anybody else. Every time there's new content released, I'm like, ooh, look at that cool thing. By the end of the season, I don't even notice it anymore. So graphics for me are not a big thing. Yes, the graphics look good. No, they don't look spectacular. They're not going to like blow your mind, in my opinion. One of the features they added just recently is something that I've been asking for a long time. When you are doing raids with groups, you can turn off the other player's cosmetic, their skill cosmetics. So you don't see their attacks. And it's really nice for mobile players because their PC or their phones are just melting down doing raids. It's something I've been asking for a while, and I think it's a really good thing. With that said, I do want to talk about this dev team is very small. And if you're going to compare one-to-one something to like this to Diablo 4 or Path of Exile, who have much, much larger teams than this, yes, things get done faster on Diablo 4, things get done faster on Path of Exile. Not even going to disagree. There are bugs in this game, and they are working on them. They are constantly patching things that don't work, and if they release a new update and something is bad, they will be on it immediately within the first couple of days. They are constantly working on fixing things overall, but yes, it is as a con, it is kind of buggy. Not in the it's a beta like crashing every 5 minutes buggy, but it does have problems. There are weird interactions with things where some things don't work right. They are working on them. If you absolutely are a person who cannot stand that there is slight bugs in a game, you are probably not going to enjoy this. There are random crashes when you're entering portals and stuff, but again, these are things that they know about and are working on. But that's something that is definitely a con. Another con right now is certain runes have become very difficult to access. They removed a feature from the alchemy table called synthesis, where you could take a bunch of crappy runes, throw them in there, and then try to synthesize better ones. And I agree with that feature being removed, but with that, they needed to make another way for us to gain access to certain runes. I know people come and ask me for advice on the game, and one of the big issues is that they want, I want to play this build, but I don't know how to access the rune. And sometimes, especially if it's a guild-only rune, it can be very, very difficult to get what you want. I absolutely 100% agree with the people that don't like that it is difficult to get in, like Boog upstairs. She wants to play Ice Crystal Arrow, and it is a rare thing. Starting out the game, it will take her probably quite a while to gain access to one of these. So I absolutely agree with that being a con, that some of the runes are very difficult to access, and it shouldn't be so difficult, I think. I think you should be able to gain access, and I will be talking about this in my community wishlist video that'll be out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's definitely something that is a negative about this game right now. Another one that I have complained about for a while is the cosmetics for the pets are horrendously ugly. There are like what is this absolute nightmare fuel? Some of these pets are just the ugliest. What even is this? And I asked since the beginning, give us a cat pet. Give us a cat pet. And don't give us some weird purple alien cat. And then they gave us the new pet. Where is it? Where is it? They gave us the new cat. It's a purple alien. It's a purple alien cat. What have you done? So I don't think much of the pets, and I also don't think much of most of the cosmetic gear. Yes, there are some hilarious ones that people like to use, but when it comes to like actually gear that looks cool, actually not some, a lot of the cosmetics, in my opinion, again, this is obviously opinion based, are horrendous. What even is, again, I know it's a Korean game and they like their silly cosmetics, but for someone who wants a really cool, like, I want super awesome, you know, gear, a lot of them don't look cool. Like, don't get me wrong, this one's actually pretty cool. And some of the other ones are pretty cool too, but overall the cosmetics really leave a lot to be desired, in my opinion. The storage I talked about already in the pay to win section. Yes, the storage is a problem. It is fairly expensive, and I do think they should overall lower the price on storage. It would make it more accessible to other players, or give us a way to get the currency to buy the custom storages somehow over a very long time in-game. Making a game more free-to-play friendly is definitely going to get more players in. I know people have stopped because they don't like the storage and they don't want to have to buy the storage and they don't have money, and it's totally understandable. So I absolutely agree that the storage is both a little too expensive and should have some way to access the storage, the custom storage, the special ones, through in-game means. Now, once you purchase them, you can upgrade the size of them in-game with the in-game money, and you can unlock a few of the extra standard tabs, just the regular tabs, with in-game currency with rubies that you can get through trading on the auction house. But I do feel like the storage is a bit of an issue. Again, it's not an issue until later in the game. I guarantee you can go through the entire storyline with just the standard storage and not have a whole lot of problems. You will end up with a lot of stuff because you don't know what's good and what's not, but it's definitely completely doable without having to spend any money. But this is definitely a con, that the storage is as expensive as it is. The lack of a huge player base is kind of a con. Now, people talk about this game being dead. It is absolutely not dead. It is definitely still doing well. It's doing fine. It's not in any bad place. But especially if you are a North American player, there are very few sources of information about this game. I am one of them. There are a few other streamers that put out some content. But if you just want answers to questions, there are very few places to go. If you want build guides or something, there are very few places. Now, I'm planning, this is going to be a lot of work, but I'm planning on doing a setup somewhere where I am going to make a build guide place so that people can access just build guides without having to go through it. But it's going to be a huge amount of work, and it's not coming anytime soon, but I'm working on it. But yes, a con is that there is not a massive North American player base. I know part of that is because of the initial launch of this game. If you go to Steam and you look at all the comments, all of them are, "This is pay-to-win crap, I hate it." And obviously they're never going to go back and update those, even though a lot of the features that they're complaining about being pay-to-win, such as having to pay for your pet, pay for extra characters, pay for storage, a lot of those are gone. Yes, the storage is still there, obviously, but a lot of the pay-to-win directly aspects are gone. Yes, absolutely, you can still buy gear from in-game rubies, or using real-world money to get them and get them that way, but the information is definitely a downside. I do my best to put as much content as I can to help players find the information they're looking for, but I am only one man, so there's, limit on that. So now I've got a couple more points that I want to talk about that are both pros and cons, depending on what you're looking at. So the first one is hardcore mode, which I'm currently on, is not as hardcore as other games, and people get really mad about that. Hardcore in this game, instead of getting 1 life, you get 3. Also, you can purchase 1 extra per month. And, you know, if over the course of a season, that gives you like 7 total lives to play. And people come from Hardcore and other games and lose their minds about the fact that there's 3 lives, and they're like, I got a troll I'm dealing with right now because of it. But if you don't like that Hardcore is 3 lives, then when you get to when you die, just delete that character and throw out every single thing in the storage and start fresh. If you want to be that ultimate, I'm a super badass tough guy, you go ahead. I like personally that Hardcore is a slight bit more casual than Hardcore in other games. Again, this is a personal opinion. You might like 1 death and that's it. Hardcore, super best. You can play like that. You can absolutely do that. I like that Hardcore is slightly more accessible because playing Hardcore mode does have its advantages in this game, and I like that it is slightly more casual. But if you want it to be super tough guy, ultra sweaty, then yeah, Hardcore's not for you. But that's, again, a personal opinion. It's a pro and a con, depending how you look at it. The other one is the auction house. Now, I'm not someone who uses the auction house just about ever for anything, because I like to personally find my gear. I like the effort. I like the extra time it takes. If you don't like that, yeah, you can use the auction house. The auction house is both good and bad in this game in that, yeah, you can just get super good gear, the most hardcore expensive stuff. If you have just money, you can just buy it on the auction house. Finding lower level stuff is much harder. Now, to me, as someone who doesn't like using the auction house, having a much more condensed auction house is nice. Yes, it makes it harder to find. Sometimes you want, like, this character. There's 4 pieces of gear. They're all crappy low-level uniques that I would like to get access to. Nobody is selling them, so I can't find them. So I gotta find them myself, which I don't mind. If you are someone who plays Hardcore or Seasonal, it might be significantly harder to find things. But one of my big complaints about Path of Exile was spending a ton of time on the damn auction house rather than playing the game. You were constantly on there converting materials and getting things so you can get exalts or divines or whatever they use now, so that you can buy the more expensive gear. And personally, I absolutely hated that. Now, again, if you're an SSF player, the auction house isn't going to make a difference. And for what it's worth, I am effectively SSF. But the auction house is both a pro and a con in this game, depending how you look at it. Oh, okay. Now, I didn't write down any more, and I'm sure there's tons more things that we could talk about in this game that are good and bad. But my point overall is that this is a really solid game. Opinion is going to have a lot to do with it, but personally, I love this game. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to say every other ARPG is bad. I played 1,800 hours of Diablo 3. I played 2,300 hours of Path of Exile. I am not someone who just casually plays 20 minutes of a game and then hates it. For me, this is my favorite ARPG right now. Yes, we've got some big ARPGs on the way. We've got Poe 2. We've got Titan Quest 2. And I hear that Diablo 4 is actually improving a lot from my friend who plays it. So maybe I will end up playing some other ones. Oh, we got Last Epoch as well. But I personally feel like this is my favorite. I haven't put a lot of time into Last Epoch. I found it quite buggy because I've been playing it as it's just been coming out, so it's sort of still buggy in my opinion. I haven't played enough to really formulate an opinion on it. It does look cool. But again, this isn't about comparing this to other games. This is saying whether or not you should give this game a shot. And because it is free to play, easy to learn in my opinion, and satisfies both casual and serious players, I do really feel like everybody should give it a shot. Maybe it's not for you. and I know I'm going to get troll comments on this no matter what happens, but there you go, guys. That is, I think, everything I really wanted to talk about. I'm sure I missed a ton of topics, but for now, give it a shot. That's my overall. I hope you enjoy the game. If you have any questions, obviously let me know. I love doing content to help people out. But for now, I'm gonna go work on something else. I think I may be able to do another video. I hope you guys enjoy the game, and I'll see you out there.